Snake's Revenge. The Strange Shadow. The fields of Gorakhpur lay under a heavy silence that night. Clouds hid the moon, and only fireflies glimmered faintly in the dark. Farmer Bakshar, sickle in hand, felt uneasy as if unseen eyes were watching him. Amid the rustling wheat, he heard another sound, a slow, dragging slither. He froze, but it vanished at once. Just old tales, he told himself, though his heart disagreed. On the soil, he found deep grooves too wide for any animal. Then by the marsh, a massive shadow slithered thicker than a tree trunk, longer than any man. His lantern caught something on the ground, a snake's shedskin, enormous and still warm. Fear gripped him. He ran home, breathless. His wife, Zora, dismissed it as imagination, but Bakshar knew the truth. The stories of Nagraja were not myths. The serpent was real. Do you want me to keep condensing each chapter like this into short, thrilling summaries? Whispers in the village. Morning came, but for Bakshar the night's terror still clung to him. He hadn't slept, every creak making him grip his sickle tighter. Zora brushed it off, saying he was only imagining things. But Bakshar couldn't forget the giant shedskin. Outside, the village bustled as usual, yet there was unease in the air. Farmers whispered, 2 calves missing, milk drained, no tracks left behind. At the square, old Malvi Karim spoke grimly, livestock vanishing, shadows on rooftops, and a restless Nagraja when Bakshar confessed what he had seen. Karim warned, the serpent does not appear without reason. It awakens with a curse. Their words were interrupted by a cry. In Hafiz's hut, his son lay pale and trembling. A snake bit on his ankle, yet unlike any venom. The wound was burned, as if by fire. The boy briefly woke, whispering, eyes red as fire. It said, it will take more, then collapsed again. Fear swept the crowd. That evening, Bakshar's own son, little Imran, revealed what he had seen, a giant snake filling his room, its tongue brushing his face, whispering his father's name. A cold dread gripped Bakshar. The signs were undeniable now. The Nagraja was not only in the fields, it was inside their homes. Snake's revenge. Dreams or reality. The third night after the strange events in the village, Bakhtiyar lay on his charpoy, staring at the thatched ceiling of his hut. The oil lamp flickered weakly in the corner, throwing distorted shadows across the mud walls. His wife and children slept beside him, their breathing steady, but his eyes refused to close. Every time he blinked, he saw the serpent. The memory of its shedskin, the strange grooves in the soil, the hiss that had seemed to coil around his very soul, they returned again and again, refusing to release him. Finally, exhaustion overcame him. His eyelids grew heavy, and he slipped into uneasy sleep. At first, the dream was ordinary. He found himself walking through his wheat fields under a full moon. The crops swayed gently, silver in the moonlight. But soon the air grew heavy. The stalks began to whisper in a language he could not understand. He quickened his pace, heart pounding, and then he heard the hiss. A shadow slithered between the rows of wheat, impossibly long, impossibly fast. He spun around, but it was everywhere at once, encircling him. And then, from the darkness, 2 eyes appeared. They glowed like molten embers, fixed on him with a hunger so ancient and so deep it made his knees buckle. The serpent rose, massive, its body thick as the trunk of a banyan tree. Its scales shimmered black and green, catching the moonlight in a terrible beauty. It opened its mouth, fangs glistening, and when it hissed, the sound was not just that of a snake. It was words. Bakhtiyar. The voice was deep, echoing, not of this world. You will pay for the sins of your bloodline. The debt is not forgotten. Bakhtiyar stumbled back, choking. Who are you? What do you want from me? The serpent's tongue flicked, brushing the air. Your father's father killed what was mine, my queen, my blood. For that, your family shall suffer. I will not rest until every drop of your bloodline is swallowed. The words struck him like blows. His grandfather, his family's curse. Before he could respond, the serpent lunged. Its massive jaws gaped, rushing toward him. Bakhtiyar jolted awake with a scream. He sat upright on the cot, drenched in sweat, gasping for air. His wife stirred, frightened. What is it? Zora asked, touching his arm. He could barely speak. A dream. The serpent. It spoke to me. Zora frowned. Half asleep? It's just your mind playing tricks. Sleep now? But Bakthiar could not. His heart pounded violently, his throat parched. He turned toward the corner of the room where the oil lamp flickered, and froze. Lying on the floor, only a few feet from the cot, was a long, pale strip of skin, shedded, fresh. His mouth went dry. He bent slowly, his hand shaking as he reached for it. The texture was unmistakable, warm, thin, scaly. Not a dream. The serpent had been here. His hands trembled as he shoved the skin under his cot, hiding it from his wife. If she saw it, she would think him mad or worse. She would realize the danger that was creeping into their home. For the rest of the night, he sat awake, his sickle clutched in his lap, listening to the silence that now felt alive, breathing, waiting. The next evening, Bakthiar went to the village square again. He found Malvi Karim sitting in his usual spot, surrounded by a small group of frightened villagers. Their voices were hushed, urgent. "The serpent is angry," one woman said. "It took my hens last night. My buffalo," another man added, shaking his head. "Dead this morning. Its throat torn open, but no blood left." Malvi Karim raised his hand for silence. His eyes glistened as he spoke. "This is not the work of an ordinary snake. This is vengeance. Long ago, a Nag couple lived in these lands. They were worshipped by some, feared by others. But one day, a greedy farmer killed the female serpent for her skin, hoping to sell it for gold. The male serpent cursed the man's bloodline before vanishing into the marsh. The curse was this: every few generations, the Nag would rise again to claim the descendants of the murderer. A murmur ran through the crowd. All eyes turned slowly to Bakthiar. He felt his stomach twist. His grandfather had been known for his cruelty toward animals, his greed for wealth. Could it be true? Had his own blood invited this horror? "Malvi Sahib," he whispered, his voice breaking. "What if the curse has come for me?" The old man's gaze was heavy, filled with pity. "Then, Bakthiar, the serpent will not stop until it has taken what it seeks. Blood calls to blood. There is no escape." Bakthiar stumbled back, his world spinning. The serpent's words in his dream echoed in his mind. "Your family shall suffer." That night, as he lay in his bed, exhaustion finally claimed him again. Sleep dragged him into darkness. This time, the serpent appeared faster. Its burning eyes hovered only inches from his face. Its hiss rattled the walls of his mind. But tonight, it said something new. "Tomorrow, I will take the first of your blood." The past revealed. The morning after his dreadful dream, Bakthiar felt as though a heavy weight had settled on his chest. He moved through his chores like a man in a trance, his hands busy but his thoughts elsewhere. Zora noticed his silence but did not ask. She had grown used to his sleepless nights and distant stares. Still, every time his eyes landed on his children, a cold dread crawled through him. The serpent's words tomorrow. "I will take the first of your blood," repeated in his skull like a drumbeat. By midday, unable to bear the uncertainty any longer, he sought out the oldest member of his family still alive, his grandmother, Amaruksar. She lived in a crumbling mud house on the edge of the village, half blind and bent with age. Her memory flickered like an old flame, sometimes bright, sometimes dim, but if anyone knew the truth about the family's past, it was her. When he entered, she sat on a reed mat, muttering prayers, her fingers worrying a string of beads. "Amma," Bakthiar said softly, kneeling before her. "I need to know. About our family. About my grandfather." Her cloudy eyes lifted toward him. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she sighed, as though she had been waiting for this question her entire life. "It has begun again, hasn't it?" she whispered. Bakthiar's heart skipped. "You knew?" Her wrinkled hands trembled as she clutched the beads tighter. "I prayed it would never reach your generation. But curses do not vanish with time. They wait. Tell me," he begged. "Please, Amma, what happened?" Her voice shook as she spoke, each word scraping against years of silence. "Your grandfather, Jalil, was not a kind man. He was greedy, proud. One season, long before you were born, he discovered a pair of great serpents living near the marsh. They were worshipped by some in the village. fed milk at shrines, treated as guardians of the land. But your grandfather, he saw only profit. One night, while the female serpent lay resting, he struck. He killed her with fire and blade and skinned her for her shimmering hide. He thought he would sell it in the city for riches. But the male serpent back the male serpent came. They say he rose taller than the trees, his shaking the very ground. He looked upon Jalil and spoke in a voice not of this world. For your crime, for the blood you have spilled, I curse you and all who come from your blood, your sons and their sons and their sons' sons. I will return again and again until none of your line remains. Ruxer's eyes glazed as she relived the memory. Your grandfather laughed. He called it superstition. But that very year, his crops failed, his cattle died, and your father, only a boy, was struck down by a snake's bite that left no venom, only fire. She gripped Bakthiar's arm suddenly, her fingers like claws. And now, it has come for you. Bakthiar's mouth went dry. Then it is true. The serpent. It hunts us because of him. Yes, she whispered, and it will not stop. You cannot kill what is bound by curse. The Nagraja is no mere beast, it is something beyond nature. Every generation it rises again, and every generation blood is taken. Bakthiar's head spun. He wanted to deny it, to call it old woman's madness. But the skin he had found in his house, the red eyes in his dreams, the boy in the village muttering about fire, everything pointed to one truth. The curse was real. His voice broke. Then what am I to do? How do I protect my children? For a long moment, the old woman said nothing. Then her frail voice whispered, some say the curse can be appeased with blood, a life offered in place of many. But who will give such a sacrifice? The words chilled Bakthiar to the bone. Sacrifice. Blood for blood. That night, the storm came. Dark clouds rolled over the village, thunder cracking like war drums. Rain lashed the earth, turning paths into rivers of mud. Bakthiar's hut creaked under the force of the wind. Inside, he sat awake again, clutching his sickle. His children huddled beside their mother, frightened by the storm. But Bakthiar knew the storm was not the only thing prowling tonight. Near midnight, as lightning split the sky, he heard it, the hiss, not from outside. From inside, his breath caught. Slowly, he turned his lantern toward the corner of the room. There, glistening in the dim light, a massive coil slithered across the floor. The serpent's body gleamed black and green, wet from the rain. Its head rose higher, higher, until it nearly touched the ceiling beams. Its eyes glowed red, fixed on him. Zora screamed. The children cried. And then the serpent spoke. Your time has come, son of Jalil. Tonight, the debt will be paid. Bakthiar raised his sickle, though his hands shook. Leave them? Take me instead. The serpent's tongue flicked. Its eyes narrowed. Blood will be taken. Choose, or I shall choose for you. The storm raged outside, thunder drowning his wife's cries. But in that small room, silence pressed in. The serpent loomed, waiting, patient as death. And Bakthiar realized with dawning horror. The rain had not stopped since the serpent's appearance inside Bakthiar's home. It had vanished as suddenly as it had come, slipping into the storm like smoke dissolving into air. But its words lingered like poison. Choose, or I shall choose for you. Bakthiar did not sleep that night. He sat at the doorway, gripping his sickle, watching the fields drown under the downpour. Every flash of lightning made him jump. Every hiss of the wind felt like a warning. His wife and children huddled inside, their eyes wide with unspoken fear. By dawn, the storm had calmed, but the village had not. A crowd gathered near the well, voices raised in terror. Bakthiar hurried over, pushing through the people, and froze at the sight before him. Abu, one of the strongest in the village, lay sprawled in the mud, its massive body twisted unnaturally. Its eyes were wide, bloodless, its throat punctured by two enormous fang marks. The earth around it was torn as if something had dragged the beast before killing it. It drained the blood, a farmer whispered, crossing himself. Not a drop left. Not an animal alive could do this, another said. Only it. The villagers murmured, some weeping, some praying, all glancing nervously at Bakthiar. He saw it. Someone muttered, it comes for his house, for his blood. Bakthiar's jaw clenched. He He wanted to scream at them, to tell them the curse was not his choice. But their eyes told him the truth. They already blamed him. To them, he was the cause of this nightmare. That evening, as the sky turned a bruised red, Bakthiar went to check his own cattle. The stable smelled of damp straw and fear. His oxen shifted uneasily, their ears twitching, their eyes rolling white. Animals sensed danger better than men. He ran his hand over the flank of his strongest ox. "Easy, boy," he whispered, but even as he soothed the beast, he heard it. The hiss. It came from the far end of the stable, low, drawn out, vibrating through the wooden beams. Slowly, he turned. There, between the shadows, something moved. A coil thick, glistening, a body winding itself around the wooden posts. The ox bellowed in terror, straining against its rope. Then, in one violent motion, the serpent revealed itself. It was larger than Bakthiar had imagined, larger than his nightmares. Its head rose higher than a man, its body so thick it could crush the stable in half. Its eyes burned red, fixed on him. "Tonight," it hissed, its voice echoing through the rafters, "the debt begins." Before Bakthiar could move, the serpent struck. It lunged with lightning speed, its jaws clamping onto the ox's throat. The animal shrieked, thrashing wildly, but the serpent coiled around it, squeezing with impossible force. Bones snapped like twigs. Blood poured from the punctures, soaking the straw. Bakthiar shouted, swinging his sickle. The blade glanced off the serpent's scales with a metallic clang. Sparks flew, but no wound appeared. The serpent barely noticed him. It only tightened its grip, draining the ox until its massive body collapsed lifelessly to the floor. The serpent's eyes turned back to Bakthiar, one by one. It whispered, "Until only ash remains." And then, impossibly, it spoke in another voice. His father's voice. "Bakthiar, my son." The serpent hissed, its tongue flicking. "Why do you fight me? This is your fate. Our fate." Bakthiar stumbled back, horror freezing his blood. "No. No. You're not him." But the voice persisted. "You cannot fight blood, my son. The curse binds us. Surrender and spare your family's suffering." Bakthiar screamed, swinging again. This time the sickle cut shallowly across the serpent's neck, leaving only a faint scratch. The serpent recoiled, not in pain but in amusement. Its laugh was a terrible hiss that shook the walls. "Strike me, if it comforts you, but you cannot kill what death itself has spared." Then, with the ox's corpse still coiled in its body, the serpent slithered backward, vanishing through the stable wall as though the wood did not exist. Bakthiar fell to his knees, panting, the sickle clattering from his hand. His world spun. The serpent was not just a beast. It was something older, darker, something that wore voices and memories like masks. And it had claimed its first kill. Word spread quickly through the village. By dawn, everyone knew that Bakthiar's ox was dead. The whispers grew louder, crueler. "It will not stop until it takes a life from his family. He should leave the village before we all suffer. His bloodline is cursed." When he passed through the square, mothers pulled their children away. Men avoided his gaze. Women muttered prayers under their breath. Bakthiar's family, once respected, was now seen as a source of doom. Zora confronted him that night. Her face was pale, her hands shaking. "They say the serpent has cursed us, that it comes for our children." Bakthiar said nothing, unable to meet her eyes. "Tell me, husband," she cried. "Is it true?" He swallowed hard. "Yes." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Zora covered her face, sobbing. "Then what are we to do? Watch while it takes our children, one by one." Bakthiar clenched his fists. "No, I will fight it." But even as he spoke, his voice sounded hollow. How could he fight something that bled no blood? That were his father's voice. That vanished through walls. The serpent came again on the fourth night. This time it did not strike an animal. It came to the edge of the house, its coils dragging across the mud walls, its hiss reverberating through the beams. Bakthiar rushed outside, brandishing his sickle. Rain poured, thunder roared, but the serpent's presence drowned it all. It loomed above him, red eyes gleaming. Soon, it hissed, very soon, and then, slowly, deliberately, it lowered its head toward the window where Imran, his little boy, slept. "No," Bakthiar roared, hurling himself forward. He slashed wildly, the blade sparking against the serpent's scales. The beast recoiled, not in pain but in irritation, as though a mosquito had bitten it. "You cannot stop me," it whispered. "The blood calls. The first of your line will fall before the next moon rises." And then it was gone, melting into the shadows once again. Bakthiar collapsed in the mud, drenched, trembling, his sickle heavy in his hand. He had failed to protect his ox. Next, it would be his children. And deep inside, he knew the serpent was right. The first human kill was coming. Charms and rituals. Fear gripped Gorakhpur. Children clung to their mothers, cattle refused the fields, and whispers spread through the village. But the greatest terror lived inside Bakthiar's home. Each evening, Zora locked doors and windows, scattered salt, and burned incense. Still, the serpent's hissing circled the house, sometimes faint, sometimes shaking the walls. On the seventh night, Zora broke down. "This will not end unless we seek help," she cried. The next morning, Bakthiar went to Pir Abdul Qadir. A holy man said to speak with spirits. The Pir looked at him and said, "You carry a curse. The serpent has returned. It is no mere creature, it can shed skins, take faces, even those of your kin. That is why its words cut so deep." He gave Bakthiar amulets and warned, "Burn neem leaves, guard your home. But remember, this curse was born in blood, and only blood can end it." That night, the serpent came again, but the smoke forced it back. Its voice thundered outside. "You think charms can save you? I will take your breath first." 2 days later, in the fields, a hooded man appeared. When he raised his face, Bakthiar froze. It was his dead father. "I have returned," the figure whispered. "Soon, your children will be mine." Bakthiar struck with his sickle, but the figure dissolved into mist, leaving only hissing laughter. Now Bakthiar knew. The serpent was already inside their bloodline. The charms bought time, but the real strike was yet to come.